So I thought he was just working on it. Forearms. Come on, Daniel. Hey, let him go. Hey, help him talk.
Good job, guys. Good job.
Hey,
Grab the bottom of grab the bottom of their feet when they're on your.
I wasn't recording. All right, that was a good practice. All right, go.
Good one, go. 3, 2, 1.
Perfect. Alrighty, so I am now joined by Noah here, who is with our parish, St. Stephen's. Noah, before we begin, do you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Whoops. Okay.
You're good.
My name is Noah Smith. I'll be a senior this year at Wilson Central High School, and I'm here at Covecrest for the 4th time. I really love it here. I really enjoy playing all the sports and growing with Jesus here. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Awesome. So for your first question, Noah, coming in from your first year, just thinking back, I know it was a while ago, but what was your expectations before knowing any of this?
Before my first year? Mm-hmm. Zero expectation whatsoever. I didn't really want to go that bad. I'd just gotten confirmed. I'd gone to my first 2 Lifeteen days, and Angie gave my mom the opportunity. She was like, "Hey, we have a spot open. Would Noah just like to hop in, join us?" And so I found out that I was going to camp about 3 days before we left. I packed my bags. Didn't know anybody really. I knew a couple people from just being around, but nobody that I was close with. And ever since that first time, God really touched my heart, and He's made Covecrest a really big part of my testimony and my story with him. It's been a whole lot of ups and downs, right? With Covecrest always being the up, and then me having some rough times after. But he's always had my back, had me, coming back to him, and coming into Covecrest, I just didn't know anything. I knew Jesus, but I didn't know Jesus. It's been definitely a big help in my walk with faith, and changed my life.
That's awesome. So going from the first year to this year, because you're going, last year will be your next year, but just how has your journey been coming each year that you've come here, and how have you seen yourself grow from the first time you came here to now, and whether that was you opened up a lot more, or how has Covecrest helped you to grow in your relationship?
Yeah. So every year it's actually been something pretty unique, and I've had time to reflect on that and kind of make categories for every single one. So the first time I came in really new, didn't really know anything, but God really touched my heart. He showed me that living through him was the way to live, and then I went home, and I had a couple bad things happen in my life. I lost some people that were very close to me, and that took a very big mental toll. And then literally the morning after, I gotten everything changed, because my grandma died as well, the week after Covecrest, and so that was a really big bang that took me out of faith until the following March. And then I got back on track, and then my second year of Covecrest really showed me that I was called to be, truly not just somebody in the background, but called to make this faith center stage and to help other people grow. And that didn't really come super immediately. Again, I fell again the following school year. Then I came back for junior year, and God really blessed me. I know you may remember, last year I was just really in tune for the first time, and I was helping others, which hadn't really been a thing. I'd usually been the one being helped in my faith. And this year I've experienced more growth than ever. Just really fixed my life up, made it so that it was pretty impossible for me to fall back into the ways that I used to live in the first few years. And this year so far, God's just really shown me a lot of joy, shown me how to be happy and how to be mature in faith. It doesn't have to always be a super huge growth, because whenever I get close to where he wants me, I don't have to grow as much anymore, and now I can just exist and be joyful for all the blessings that he continues to give me.
Thank you so much for sharing that. So the past honestly, this year and last year especially, I think for the both of us, honestly, it's been so nice to really mix with guys and girls. Because, like, for me, you know, it's good to, like, hear the girls, but then, like, to hear you guys be vulnerable and, like, just to hear your guys' side, that's been a really, really awesome thing for me, because, like, then I get to see what your guys' hearts are like, because I feel like we always separate, but, like, how, honestly, we struggle with the same things, even being different genders, and, like, that we still battle, and, like, that we can be there for each other as, like, brothers and sisters in Christ. So
Yeah, absolutely.
So what would you say to someone to encourage them to, like, if their parish offers Covecrest, what would you say to them if they're hesitant, super unsure of, like, hey, I really don't think I want to do this?
Get here, please, now. One thing I've found out, it was actually something I learned this morning, is that whenever there's something in your life that you feel like you should do, but you're hesitant for some reason that you can't explain, that's because God's knocking at the door, and your fleshly body doesn't really like that too much. And you know, if you're feeling called to do it, but also are very, very hesitant, that usually means that God wants to do something really, really special with you. A couple of the people in our parish this morning were struggling with going to confession, and I had that same message for them, and all four of them had like an amazing experience, and that's something I found in my own life. Like, I didn't want to go to confession this past Tuesday, but I kind of just, like, I didn't even let myself think about it. I just stood up and walked over there without really letting myself get a second thought in, and it was a beautiful confession. It was perfect. It really helped me center, and yeah, I guess that's all I have. Actually, one more thing. Just be obedient to God. That's whenever your blessings are going to come in. So if God is telling you to come here, that means you need to come here. If your parish is asking you to come, that means that you're supposed to be there, and that means that it's you're called to be here, and you're called to grow. I mean, I don't know. You guys can't really see it right this second, but it's absolutely beautiful here, and just looking around just makes me feel God in a really powerful way.
Thank you so much for coming on and telling us being our witness as a child and, like, a teen experiencing this, and just being vulnerable too, and sharing just what's on your heart, because honestly it's beautiful, and you're one of the most authentic people that I know, so it's a beautiful thing to hear, honestly, anything you have to say. So thank you so much for joining, Noah.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
So I'm joined by this lovely missionary, Claire Ellen, and today we're going to be talking about the mission work that she does here at Lifeteen's Camp Covecrest. So before we begin, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure, I'd love to. So I'm a third-year missionary here at Covecrest. I come here every summer and work here. I love it a lot. I'm sure we'll get into that but I'm also a Stanford student at the University of Stanford, obviously. I'm a junior and I'm studying studio art. So kind of maybe doing art history, something like that. But I'd also love to go into ministry. That's what the Lord has. So.
Are you wearing any drip today?
I'm wearing any drip. Got my Lifeteen shirt on, and my crucifix because we love him.
Good stuff. Alrighty, so for the first question, it'll just be kind of broad, but you've done service crew and, like, you haven't done full time, but, like, the missionary one. Is there, like, a preference that you've had that you feel like was better, or do you feel like they were both kind of, like, even fruitful wise?
That's a really good question. I think they're both even fruitful-wise because I was in different, like, stages of life. For me, I did summer staff, which is, like, the one that's working with the Tampers right out of my first year of college. So it was a lot of, like, my own formation still needed to happen, and it was really beautiful because I actually learned a ton from working with campers and getting to know different people, getting to minister. For service crew last year and for this year, it's been a lot more of the Lord choosing to, like, humble me and let me, like, serve him kind of a little bit more behind the scenes. So both super fruitful, both exactly what the Lord was doing, like, at that time period, I think.
Very good answer. So for your first year working with campers, did you have, like when you were applying, like, for that, what was, like, going through your mind, like, to even consider applying for something like this?
Really good question. Definitely the reality of my unworthiness, I think, is part of it, and then also the reality of my pridefulness. The combination is actually really funny. But the fact that I was getting to serve people who, especially coming out of my freshman year of college, I wasn't qualified to serve as much as I think that the Lord allowed me to. And I think when I was applying for that, I was like, Lord, just fill in my gaps, because I know that there definitely are some. I think definitely. And then once I learned I got the position, I definitely didn't think I was going to, just because I was younger and that kind of thing. I was very much like, oh no, guess you got to do this, Lord. If you want me here, you're going to have to make it happen. Fill me with grace. And he definitely did. So it was pretty amazing.
That's wonderful. Do you want to walk us through what it's like the day-to-day life being a missionary on the camper side?
Okay, on the camper side.
Versus service crew.
Okay, perfect, on summer staff side. So day-to-day life, we always have community prayer in the morning. So you'll wake up, depends on how fast you get ready. I usually wake up at 7, and then we have morning prayer, or holy half and morning prayer at 7:30. So we'll have half hour of adoration, and then we'll pray morning prayer all together. And then we'd go and get ready to serve breakfast, and then we would serve breakfast to the campers. After that, we normally, if we had time, eat breakfast with campers, and depending on the day, then we would kind of get into what we were doing that day. A lot of times, for today, it's a Friday, so we're having free time, and so we'd go and hang out with the campers, play games, that kind of thing. And then we'd have lunch, and we'd come serve for lunch, and then we usually hang out with campers at lunch. And then we have something called Messy Games later today, which is very much just the epitome of a good time, personally. Just throwing mud and oobleck and all this good stuff. And we'd do that, and then we'd go shower. Usually we'd have some time in the cabin after that, and a lot of times the girls would all just sit together, talk, paint our toenails, fun stuff like that. And then we'd come back and get ready for Mass, which we had Mass, I think 5 today. And then we'll go to dinner with the campers and hang out with them. And then we'll have session. So that's kind of it. And then usually small group at the end. And then tonight, we have adoration. So that's about to slay. So kind of usually our days are pretty full, pretty packed. A lot of just getting to know people, which is lovely. Our weekends usually a little bit more chill. We usually do a lot of community things on the weekends. So we go places. But yeah, does that kind of answer your question?
Yes.
Perfect.
So through spending lots of times with camper, what's one thing that really stood out to you from getting to know kids younger, because you were in that position at one point. You were a camper here, right?
Oh yeah.
So what was it like to be that person for the campers versus you looking up to them when you were here?
That's a really good question. I feel I'll do 2. I'm a talker, you can probably tell, so I'm gonna just do 2 points. The first one I think was the reality of how big the Lord is and how small I am. Because a lot of what we do, probably by the middle of the first week, I was really tired, exhausted, because you get to do so much, it's so beautiful. But by that point, literally your small group is just praying that the Lord will give you the right questions and learning how to love those people well. And so I think that was a huge thing, is that no matter how many times I was empty, he filled me, which I think also put into perspective what missionaries were to me. They weren't people who were perfect and they got it all together. They're people who just let the Lord fill them, which I think as a camper I was I'm never gonna be a missionary, and I'm oh wait, I literally can be a missionary because I'm empty, so he can fill me. And so that was huge. Kind of on the other side of that, just it was very humbling and beautiful, because I realized that I learned a ton from campers. Maybe I taught them something, but a lot of what I was doing was learning from them, and seeing how their hearts were moving. And it was just such an honor to get to be in that position. And it's cool to think about when I was a camper and how much I was how the missionaries were untouchable and had it all together and all these things, and just the reality of no, it's half of the time they're going to be learning from you guys. So that kind of half the time they're going to if they are saying anything good, it's literally the Holy Spirit and not them, because we're just so empty, which is so beautiful. Yeah,
that was really cool. So kind of just because I'm gonna add, I think even though I'm not a missionary, but I kind of agree with you, just watching, even as a camper, watching the kids around you experience something that maybe you don't feel in that moment, but even if you don't feel God is there, you see him working through other people, and conversation I had with you the other day was kind of like maybe the Lord like is trying to teach you something.
Yeah.
And so like I've been praying with that, and that's been like really good, because then I'm like, maybe I wasn't meant to like feel this great thing this time, but maybe he was teaching me something about just waiting and really just trying to sit with him and more listening than just me talking and asking.
Yeah, totally. So good.
But another question, for service crew, is it hard to like be constantly, I guess the difference between like serving as like a missionary versus service crew is, I guess you guys are always doing like ropes course, and you're doing a bunch of maintenance that like maybe we don't see, but you guys are like behind the scenes. Has that been like more draining than like how you're saying like the emptiness God would fill so that you could like get through like the week and like always was filling you? Is that like the same thing as like for service crew, like when you're doing that?
Yeah, I feel like there's definitely like still an aspect of that, and it's like maybe less. I mean, he's still filling us in a spiritual sense, but I feel like in a lot of ways he's also filling us in a very like physical sense, because our jobs as service crews are a little bit more like strenuous in some ways. I think that like the biggest difference I'd say is it's like we are directly serving the teens, but a lot of what we're doing is like supporting the summer staffers. And so I found a lot of like beauty in that it's like in my head, my job is to like do my job, and then like my secondary role is to like serve the summer staffers and to like love on them, make sure they're okay. And then to when I get a chance to hang out with teens, because I also really enjoy getting to know everybody, you know? And so it's definitely like a little bit of a different role. And I think that it is a little bit more, like a hidden role. And so it is, when you are empty, it's maybe not as obvious or maybe not as much like a priority, I guess, if that makes sense. But the reality too is that we also get a lot more time to like pray and rest than summer staff does. So it's like, if I really need to be filled by the Lord, I can probably go do a holy hour, which is nice, because I can usually just be like, tell my big boss like, hey, do you mind if I go take a couple minutes to do this thing? And so like that's a huge thing. So they're very similar but different. I definitely think I found that sense of like emptiness, and it might be more emptiness in like where the Lord's allowing me to grow in like humility or meekness or something like that, versus necessarily like doing direct ministry, that kind of thing.
So what would you say to someone who's kind of doubting, like, because you said your unworthiness, like when you were discerning, what would you say to someone that, like, you know, is thinking about doing like missions, but doesn't exactly feel like it's like they're unworthy, because like, I don't know, I feel like for me, when I look at the missionaries, I'm like, wow, they seem like they have a really good like relationship with Christ, but like knowing you guys struggle too. So like what would you say to someone to like encourage them to apply?
Dang, okay. I think one of my favorite things is kind of to tell the story of my summer staff, because I like to say that like one of the reasons we were so close is because we were also broken together. And so my summer staff, a lot of the women coming in didn't think they were worthy. Like just flat out, we talked about it the first day. We were just like, we are not, like, we don't know why the Lord chose us to do this job, basically. Like I had one of my women on my staff literally, I think, had come from like drinking that night before, like come from partying, and she was like, I don't know how I'm here. And just like this crazy idea of like, the thing we shared was the desire to serve, even if we didn't share like the most of the skills, that kind of thing. And also Lifeteen does an amazing job forming you. So it's like the desire is a lot of pretty much all you need, I think, is because the Lord will fill in your gaps. And Lifeteen also is a great job forming you, kind of helping you know like how to like love and serve and even minister well. Like we have 2 weeks of formation before we even start working with teens. And so that was a huge thing for me. And then I also think just like, again, like the reality of like my nothingness, like I'm nothing and God is everything. And it's like, as long as I'm like an empty cup, he can fill me. And so it's like, I feel like if you're coming in a place of unworthiness, you're kind of in the right spot. Because it's like, we are unworthy to do like this mission. And like, we are like, we're not enough, but like we're not supposed to be. Like we're like, the Lord is supposed to fill us up. And I think that's been something that he'll always remind me of, because a lot of times I'll get in this like stride of feeling good about it, and then I'll be like, oh, I got this. And he's like, well, no, I have this. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. And so I think if someone is like saying that they'd like be interested in being a missionary, but they like don't feel like they're worthy, I'd be like, I feel like you're in the perfect spot to be a missionary then. Like you're right when where you need to be. Because I guarantee if you come in thinking you know what you're going to do, which I also had a little bit of that for sure. I definitely thought I knew. You're going to, like, the Lord is going to gently be like, no. So, yeah.
So I was talking to two other missionaries, Jaboy and Aaron, yesterday, and they talked about something that you guys follow, the rule of life or the rules of life. So do you want to talk a little bit about that and how that like ties into your guys' daily life and like your brother and sisterhood that you're building here?
I am such a huge fan of the rule of life, like such a huge fan of the rule of life. You can never read it if you ever want to. It's in the back of the chapel. It's basically just like the way, so it's based on the Benedictine rule of life that St. Benedict wrote. And it's just like the way that we choose to like conduct our lives here at camp. And so it has things like prayer, temperance, different things like that. So like it kind of touches every part of your life. So it's like we like commit to pray a holy half every day. We commit to just like being temperate with how we eat, things like that. Just like very simple but very like good things. Or like we commit to like being like mindful of how much time we spend on screens, things like that. And so the rule of life is really great because it like fosters community life, and it also like fosters this environment which helps you grow. Like one thing we do for doing mission, you said like brothers and sisters, we have a dating fast as a Lifeteen missionaries, which like I think coming in my first summer was something that I was excited but also a little bit nervous about, and now it's like one of my favorite things to be here and be on the dating fast because you form like the sweetest like brother-sister relationships that I feel like you don't have an opportunity to when you're like constantly thinking about that, you know, kind of thing. And some of my like genuinely like closest brothers in Christ have come out of this like camp, and some of my closest sisters in Christ have come out of this camp because for me it's like if I'm not thinking about like all the drama of dating and things like that, I can also focus on the women more just as much as I can like focus on having good guy friends, you know, kind of thing. And so I feel like for that, like we also have this thing, I can just go on and on. I'm gonna just like do a couple parts, but we also have this thing called like filling the gap with trust. That's in our rule of life, which is we commit to, if there's a gap between what we understand and what we see, we fill it with trust. So it's like if we see someone on their phone in Holy Half, we're gonna like trust that they're probably like on their Bible app instead of being like, oh, they're probably scrolling through Instagram. And so with that, it's like with that and the dating fast, and then we also commit to not gossip, be sarcastic, or complain. It's like all of those things like form a community that is like so centered on Christ and like really spawns like brotherly, sisterly love for each other. So like my closest friends in the whole world have come from this camp, which is crazy because I like have gone to college with people who are also amazing. But the ones who I've been with like here for 7 weeks don't even like they're so much closer with me than some people I've known for 2 or 3 years, because we've like been formed in this environment that like fills the gap with trust and like bases things on love, like in the love of Christ. And it's just kind of amazing. So highly recommend Rule of Life.
Alrighty. Thank you so much for joining me today and talking about this wonderful place and the wonderful things that you guys are doing here for teens, but also for each other, because it seems like it's not just us that you're serving, but you're also serving each other, and that's really beautiful to hear. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and remember always, you are beloved.